Okay, we are here with Ananzi, the hero of the people, one half of the fighting Springboks. Ryan's not here today. We're sitting here before the show for the AWA Battle for Glory tonight. Now, everybody knows this is called the BaardBek and Palazzo podcast, but Johnny Palazzo declined to be on the podcast today. I'm not sure if there's maybe something happening tonight or whatever. But yeah, Johnny said he'll rather not speak to Ananzi. But Ananzi, good to have you here.
BaardBek, like always, it's an honor,
Um,
buddy. Thank you so much for having me. I get quite excited. I'm very excited being here.
So, Ananzi, you're from Gauteng,
That's correct.
and you're the man up there for APWA. You're not probably the biggest star, but also you're the promoter as well. Maybe for our Cape Town fans who doesn't know much about APWA yet, maybe tell us a bit about your product. How did it start? And yeah, let's start with that. Introduce the AWA crowd to your
Alrighty.
company. We know you, we don't know the company.
Great stuff. AWA, thank you so much for having me. It's always a great honor. It's really a great honor being here. You know, Sean Kuhn coming also from second generation family, being in the business. So myself, I am the nephew of Donnie Fuchas and Donnie Brits. Donnie Fuchas from the father's side, and then Donnie Brits from the mother's side.
I think you can say the great Donnies.
Yeah, the real fighting Springboks.
Yeah, the real fighting Springboks, the great Donnies.
They're great Donnies. Yeah, so they are legacy, man. They are not only legends, but they are legacy. So that's where it all started. As a young boy, just going with them to, as family, we always supported the shows there in Wembley Stadium and Portuguese Saal. And then obviously when it was on TV back in the 80s, early 90s, following it up, it just grew on me. And as a young boy, that was my childhood dream. And I always like, this is what I want to become when I'm big. Watching the Mnet series, WWF guys like Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, it's like just larger than life. And that was just a dream that I'm going to do this one day. And so I grew up, started out in this business. Didn't start at APWA immediately. I started out at a promotion called Top Star Wrestling Promotions. The guy's name is Rian. God bless him. But he really didn't know how to promote or what wrestling was about. He was just a wannabe with all due respect, But great guy as human, but in the business, no. Anyway, he put in a few shows together. I started out there. And then I met the old guys like Tornado Steve Debus. I ran into him. And then I started working for IWF, International Wrestling Federation. So back in the day, when Donnie Fuchas after Bull Juffen and them, there was a promoter with the name Paul Lloyd. It was
Pink
called
Panther.
Yeah, Pink Panther. That's correct. So you're used to. I like that. So Pink Panther started promotion, All Stars Wrestling Promotions. Donnie Fuchas, Hammer, all of those people that wrestle for them. I'm sure Sean has also wrestled for them a couple of times. Anyhow, as the wrestling went on, Pink Panther unfortunately was murdered. That's PJ. Justin
PJ
Graham,
Black.
that's his dad.
Yeah.
Right. So we started in the business when we were 10 years old, always go to Donnie with training, and that's where it all started out, screwing around in the ring, and it just grew on me and being part of the business. Anyway, there was that gap there, finished high school, I started out a Top Star Wrestling promotion, and then all of a sudden one day I just walked into Steve Debus, which had then IWF, which was a sideline business of Paul Lloyd. Paul Lloyd had All Stars Wrestling promotion, then he had IWF. So Steve Debus took over from me when he was murdered, bought out the rings, all that stuff. Anyway, so I started by them. Then a gentleman with the name Mark Beal bought out the whole IWF and started a promotion called WWP, Thunderstrike, that was on SABC2 back in the day. I was a youngster, I was 20 years old, I started there, and then it just went on. So the year 2007, obviously Donnie Fuchas and them, he was still alive, he just showed me the ropes, showed me what's the ins and outs. But 2007, I had the opportunity to go to America. All right, so now I'm jumping the gun, and I know I'm talking up, but I have to put you in a picture where the APWA started. So, with the blessing of WWP, I went to America. I went to Houston, Texas, called PWA, Pro Wrestling Alliance. Booker T was the owner there, or still is the owner there. Hook it up, check it out. It's actually pretty cool. They're doing good. They've got reality to wrestling as well. And So I started working out there, come back to South Africa because my paperwork, I couldn't get my green card and my working visa. So I had to come back to South Africa, and also I had a baby at the time. And me and the mom separated, and she left us with a baby, and I had to, act a part and just know my role and be the super dad or single dad. But anyway, so I brought back that concept from America, because when I stayed there at Booker T, I realized that what we do in South Africa is totally different. They're still doing old school stuff. Some, with all due respect, there's no rings in South Africa when you do training. You only get it in shows. So I thought, why not I set up a wrestling school where you have a proper gym, a proper wrestling ring, a proper training facility, and I'm going to start doing it as a full-time job, start charging them monthly fees. So I took the whole concept with the blessing of Booker T, and then I was going to start PWA Africa with a friend of mine with the name Jason Steele. And but once again, things didn't work out, and we had TV already in South Africa with WWP. So I went and approached Mark Beal back in the day. I said, okay, well, I'm going to start this wrestling school. Why don't we affiliate? And then I train the guys, and I provide you with talent, because he was on the TV as well, So, and that's where it all started. So it all started as APWA, Ananzi's Pro Wrestling Academy.
Okay.
All right. So that's where it started. That was in the day 2008, back in the day. And then we also started an amateur wrestling side, because we come from an amateur wrestling background, which is at the wrestling school, which is Donnie Fuchas Wrestling Center. So we're calling the amateur wrestling that. And then later, it just changed. We registered it as a PTY, and we registered it as African Punishment Wrestling Alliance. So now we're an alliance. We work with everybody out there. We provide everybody. So we're not bonded with WWP, because WWP doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Well, now he's relaunching, and Mark Beal's relaunching, but back then it all faded away. And but now we're alliance. Now we work with everybody hand in hand. Now it's about business. It's about not only business, but passion. Getting the guys to train in Cape Town, wrestle in Cape Town, wrestle in Durban, wrestle in Johannesburg. So that's the whole history, where it came from and how it became the APWA.
Okay, yeah, I think you spoke about Paul Lloyd. Different areas, different characters, but in Port Elizabeth, he was one of the major heels.
Yeah, he was.
He was, I think, one of the greatest heels in South African wrestling. He was so good.
He was very good. He had a presence, right, with that music hitting, and he had a good presence. Yeah, I remember that as a child.
I remember my mother hated him, but everybody loved to hate him. He was just,
I was going to say that everybody loved to hate that guy. If he was not on the bill, on the card, you wanted to see him. You always wanted to see him on the.
No, he was definitely one of the guys that people loved to hate. He was so good, and you can see with his son. He's wrestling as PJ Black.
PJ Black, yes, that's correct.
The lineage there that's running there. Tell me a bit more about when you were in Houston with Booker T and stuff. So, I know Ryan told me some stuff at the last show, but maybe tell us a bit about your experience there at the tryouts and stuff.
All right, so there was different opportunities when I was in the States. Houston was one, and then Tampa Bay, Florida was the other one. That's when was the time that Ryan was with me, him and late George. Excuse me, Willem, God bless his soul, exterminator. But the time I was with Booker T, that was in Texas, Houston. So we got invited not to do a tryout, but to be part of the PWA. Pro Wrestling Alliance, to take part in reality TV there with Booker T. But the thing is, the catch was you had to pay your own accommodation, own transport, own flights, own food, own everything. So all you literally had was an invitation. No job card, no nothing. So we couldn't go there and wrestle for money. You had to go there and just train. That's basically what you could do there. And we were there only allowed 3 months at a time. Well, back then I was only allowed 3 months in there in Houston. And we stayed there. Luckily, I hooked up with some people via Facebook. Tony Rachel, she's a South African. She stayed there back then. She was like 70 years old. I paid her, you won't believe it, $150 a month to stay there. And back then it was 10 to 1. So it was $1,500. Wow. What a blessing, right? What a blessing. And so I trained there for Booker T, and then we obviously took on some independent work, which was illegal back then. So we worked there at independent scenes. I don't want to talk about a lot, but it's so many years later, so I think I can let the beat.
You're already out of the country.
Yeah. So So I worked there for $50 a match. Sometimes, if I was very fortunate, $70 a match. Like I said, it was 10-1. So it's $500 a night or $700. And that just God supplied, man, you know. So we just came through. Unfortunately, I was very naughty back then. I was still drinking. I had a lot of bad habits. No drugs and stuff, but drinking a lot. So when I got $50, $10 will go to beers and pain tablets, at least so $5 to pain tablets. And that's how I got through this whole Texas, Houston thing, just pressing my way out and learn a lot about the business. So towards the end, just before we come back, before our cancellation of the paperwork and stuff, we had Vengeance 2000, I think it was 2007, 8. Yeah, when we were there. Vengeance, that was the night when Chris Benoit took his own life, unfortunately. He was supposed to wrestle for the title, and then Santino Marilla still took the title that time. And then at the night, so I was booked. This is cool. So I was booked as Dark Talent. I don't know if you know what's Dark Talent.
Yeah.
So Booker T invited us to the show.
Maybe tell the people what Dark Talent is.
Okay, so when you're part of a dark match or Dark Talent is that, so Booker T was, at that stage, he was King Booker with Queen Shamel, and he was world champion. So because he had his own wrestling school, and the event was in his hometown, it was in Houston, Texas, he was allowed to invite some of his students there and book us as Dark Talent. So what's cool about that, you go there, you get paid, you have to dress smart, go back with your talk back, sit around until they select you. And if they select you, can go to the ring, and then they can use you as a dummy. So John Cena, whoever, can throw you around and just work out some spots. And if they like what you do, then they can actually put you in a dark match. So that's non-air, non-televised matches. So people that they don't know. So let's say the arena open up and they just want to start getting the crowd alive, they will put you and somebody else in. It's a dark match as well. They call it dark match and Dark Talent. Sometimes you'll go against the name, it depends, and they'll just see what you can do. And that's how they do actual tryouts with you. So I remember I was invited, went through there, myself and Jason Steele. I didn't have a suit. I just had this pink shirt. Actually, I have a photo on my Facebook. I'll show you with Ric Flair backstage there. That's where I got to meet him. Batista. I met quite a few guys that night. I was so in seventh heaven, you know. It was so cool. So that night, I got to share a room with Cody Rhodes. So Cody Rhodes and myself is same age. And he was also a Dark Talent that night. Because, yes, he's got family in the business. He's got advantage. But still, I'm going to show them I'm better than Cody. I'm going to show him. So we were backstage, and then shoes, man, as they come in, talent relation come in, Cody, you come with us. Fuck Cody. Fuck Cody. Yeah, because it's his dad, and I was so jealous. But anyway, he got selected. And but what was cool about it, I got to meet them, and I got to put my presence out there. And hey, I'm Quibus from South Africa, from Johannesburg. This is where I am. And that's cool. That's how we reach out and get your name there. So in that time, then our papers obviously expired. I had to come back. That's when I started this whole thing. But that time in America is a time of my life that created, I'll say, it took me from a boy into, from a toddler to a teenager, if you know what I'm saying. And it's like just schooling what is the real ins and outs about the business. And there I realized that wrestling is not for everyone, because we train every night, Monday to Friday. You train. If you don't train, you at an indie circuit or indie show doing hustling around, just falling around for a couple of bucks. It's kind of like a circus, you put your body on the line all the time and you hustle. And then other nights when you don't have work, you go to nightclubs and you work as a security or a bouncer. And that's why a lot of them end up with strippers as girlfriends, because that's the kind of lifestyle they live,
Yeah.
And that was my time, my experience. And I realized that, with all due respect, it's kind of an ungodly life, if you want to live that life. Because with that lifestyle, there's a lot of parties, a lot of friends that you don't want to really mix with, because you're in so much pain all the time. The people either smoke pot, or they drink a lot, or they take a lot of painkillers. So it's not a beautiful thing. You have to be real straight up, like CM Punk. I don't know how he gets it right when we start, but it takes discipline, man. It takes discipline. So it's not an easy lifestyle. But there I learned a lot about the nature of the beast of this business.
But there's you'll hear a lot of stories about interviews of the older guys that came through it that fortunately survived that era of the hardcore wrestling going, wrestling hard, drinking hard, partying hard and stuff. You said you met Cody Rhodes there. Ric Flair must have been an amazing experience meeting Ric Flair.
Oh yeah.
Any people that maybe went on to become someone big that you maybe wrestled there on the indies? That, not that it matters, you are the hero of the people, but it could be interesting to hear if there was anybody.
Khalida, actually,
Okay.
he was in there, but
spit
he,
in the face of
yeah,
people who's not cool.
he actually just, while we were on that run, he just made name for himself out of nowhere. Cody Rhodes obviously is one of the biggest names there. Ted DiBiase's son, what was his name? Also DiBiase.
I see his face before me.
Yes, you know what I'm talking about. But that's basically the two names that really made it when I was there at that stage. Yeah,
I saw an interesting podcast of Chris Van Vliet with Paul Heyman the other day.
Okay.
Where they spoke when DiBiase was supposed to be the next big thing. And that was also around the time they wanted to push him when Brock just won a fight or something. But how that whole thing just didn't work out for him and he just didn't get that big push.
True. You know, this is the thing about this business. It can go any second, you can go anywhere, anytime. You know, it just depends. I remember at my second tryout. So now I'm jumping the gun again to a different scenario, but at a FCW at Tampa Bay, Florida. So there was the skinny guy, really, he was skinny guy, had an afro like Khalida, and he just did one great promo. That's it. He couldn't work, couldn't wrestle, he couldn't take the bumps. I still remember one of the guys throwing me. He had knocked himself out, cold. Couldn't work, and he was like a crybaby about it. But he did one great promo. And then Dusty Rhodes, back then he was on the panel, they got him signed right there on the spot. I'm like, what? This can't be true. And he got signed. Yeah. So, you know, it's right time, right place. You know, what do they need from your character? So sometimes they do have the plan, like for Ted DiBiase's Sunday, we want you to be the big thing. We want you to go. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, it's gone. Yeah. It's gone. It's never been even mentioned.
It's one injury or one pop out of the crowd for another guy. And you're like, okay, no, maybe this.
Change.
And
let's change the gears.
I think that's so difficult for South Africans if they try and get into that market to go over for a month or two and try and get in. A lot of the guys who I've seen on podcasts and stuff, it's been years of grinding the indies and being just there. And for us from South Africa, our talent to go over there and stick out there for a couple of years and hope, just not achievable.
Look, so I'm going to be honest with you. I was so confused when I went over the first time. So I went over with a guy called Jason Steele. That was to PWA, to Pro Wrestling Alliance with Booker T. I want to make my name for myself. So on this card, some of the card nights, you'll have guys like the Dudley Boys on the card because they use them for draw costs to sell tickets.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate. Everybody that stayed in Houston, Texas back then. So wherever you work, some nights you'll find it. Like Rey Mysterio, one night he walked into an indie show there. So it was so cool. But I was so confused back then because I wanted to prove a point. I wanted to get my name out there. What do you do? So I'm from South Africa. Everybody there think you stay in the jungle. I remember the first night Vince McMahon walked past me. He didn't greet me. He didn't talk to me. He just looked at me and he slapped me on the shoulder and he's like, "Jungle Boy," ha 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 ha. And he walks past. And then he goes that little funny walk. It was backstage. Yeah, past the...
Almost like a Connor walk.
Yes, correct. Past the catering. And I'm like, I got frozen pins and needles from top to pinky. And I'm like, what was that? Jungle Boy. So why do I mention this? Because when I went to Booker T, I took my skin with my Ananzi skin, the old school Ananzi, the Zulu gimmick, you know.
The one you wore in WPW.
Yes, WP. So that skinny Springbok look. So, and then I had myself leotard tights, you know, like a leopard tights. And I went for this whole African vibe because I was a South African and because everybody sees us Jungle Boys. And I thought, well, I'm going to try to go. But some people, it works for them, and other people, like, they just dish you. Yeah. What is this guy doing? Why guy being African? This is so stupid. And I was confused. I didn't know which direction to go. And a few years later, when I got invited from WWE themselves to do a tryout at FCW, I went as Ananzi, plainweg, normal Ananzi, no ski, no nothing, but I went with a South African flag because British Bulldog was one of my favorite wrestlers. It was like, I've always wanted this guy and the flag guy, you know, this patriot guy.
Maybe.
So I thought I'm going to go as the South African with the South African flag. And once again, it worked, but it didn't work, you know, so I was confused. What do we as South Africans do? One thing that we must realize is that we underestimate ourselves. We are tough son of a guns. You know, when we're there, automatically myself, Ryan Cage, George, we were there. We just outshine them by far, just because not only our size, but our toughness. Americans are tough, but they're not as tough as us. Honestly, they're not, you know, and the quicker one goes over a young talent and stop stressing about what I do, what's my character, because you just go there, just be yourself and just have fun and create memories and just do what they want you to do. That was the problem. I should have listened more and do what they asked me to do. Instead of going over, I'm the South African patriot or this jungle boy. That's the only thing.
Yeah, and look what WWE ended up doing with South Africans and made them the Truth Commission.
You know
what? Not the brightest stuff.
You know what I'm saying.
Ananzi, thanks. It's interesting just to hear the stories and to know that for South Africans there are opportunities there, and that we have. I'm gonna call you it now, a living legend, but that has experienced it, and I hope the youngsters that listen to this will learn that wrestling is a hard business to get in.
Not easier.
If we talk about the South African wrestling arena, what do you think? I asked that to one of your best friends at AWA, Johnny Palazzo, as well. Not really, but I asked him, what do you think is the biggest struggles or challenges, opportunities we have in South Africa regarding local wrestling? On your side in Gauteng, what's the challenges you have?
Well, I can call a spade, you know, and this is not a racial thing or anything, but having a BE status, that's a problem. Because until today, everywhere I pitch my proposals, and it's about getting some sponsorships on board, because at this stage, the problem in South Africa lacking is funding. It's money. No two ways about it, because we do definitely have the talent. We're not the best in the whole wide world. We know exactly how to put shows on it. I mean, look at our quality of indie shows, and you take it compared to anywhere worldwide, and look at the quality, and you'll see that we outshine them before. So imagine us as South Africans had the funding and the sponsor from the government to do what we do, what we love. So that is our problem in Johannesburg at this stage. Because I remember back on TV, we were told from SABC2, you know, you guys need to pick up more with the darker skin and the white skin. Like, what? This can't be serious. How can we change talent now just because they want skin color? And we couldn't provide. And at the end of the day, they took us off, you know. That was not the main reason, but that was one of the big reasons. And till today, like I said, you can't get anywhere if you don't get that funding thing. So I just think it's kind of unfair, because it's a little bit unfair, because I know that we've got a potential and I know we can go. And, you know, there's so many kids. And now this is not about color, who's black, who's white, because I want to help them all.
Yeah.
If you look at my racing school, majority is Africans. You know, 80% of them, 10% other color, 10% white. So that's, for me, it's not a racial thing. It's the thing that, why can't they back us up? Why do we have to register as a BE, blah, 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 all this stuff? And if we can't provide it, then they can't help us. That's what I can't understand, you know.
I think I can speak of my experience at AWA, but I think I can speak for you as well, because I know you. The value that the two companies invest into their talent is something that can be transmitted into communities around them if there's support and there's funding. And you can't tell me, if you can walk into any area in the country actually, and you will see some kid with some WWE, everybody knows it. And the avenue that we can have in South Africa to use pro wrestling,
correct,
as a tool to uplift and take kids and people out of circumstances.
Definitely.
It can be amazing, because what people see on the YouTube and TV is such a small part of really what's going on.
Definitely.
The investment in the people's lives and stuff. So yeah, I think that's probably a big, and funding. That's where the
Funding.
thing is.
So that's
People
what I'm
don't want
going
to
to.
sponsor because you can't get that status.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's what I'm going to. So we can't get a funding because of our status, and but they don't really see behind the stage what we do and how big we're doing. I mean, man, oh man, I've got beautiful stories of children that we took off street and just in our community at Donnie Fuchas Recreation Center. There's, I don't want to mention names or talk too much, but there's situations where this one guy, his dad was walking next to him, drunk, and a car bumped him right in front of him. You know, the emotional trauma that kid was sitting with. And we took the wrestling as a platform, and today he's 22 years old. He's a manager at a well-known supermarket. He became something in his life. His sister, that didn't have anything to do with wrestling, anything, she's a drunk, she's a slut, unfortunately, she's a prostitute and drugs. You know, so the beautiful stories that wrestling helped other people's with, you don't understand. There's so much beautiful stories out there. Really, really, really.
I'm gonna finish with a question that's sometimes very difficult because it's a very quick question, but favorite wrestler of all time, favorite match of all time, and favorite finishes.
That's very difficult. So I'll mark out. I'm a rock fan, big time, because his presence and everything.
Maybe
that
we'll
is
see
achieved.
a rock bottom tonight,
Yeah,
or
you'll see,
people's elbow
a lot
from
of-
the hero of the people.
So it's very strange, eh? Because I do use a lot of his stuff. But if you look at my characters, a lot comes from Wild Man Mark Merrow, the Tushels.
Yeah.
A lot comes from British Bulldog, the Tushels. The vibes. I just love the way he always, Davey Boy, how he did his outfits. And then obviously Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior, the tan and the physique. But all-time favorite, definitely The Rock. Favorite match of all time, it's Stone Cold and The Rock. There's very, very close to that, Hulk Hogan and The Rock. Both WrestleMania moments. What was the other third one?
Finisher.
My favorite finisher, definitely the rock bottom. Nowadays called the bad habit.
Well, we've got at least the same wrestler in one of the matches. Mine was Stone Cold versus Bret Hart was my favorite match.
Oh, what a beautiful match. You see, that's why it's so hard. It's
so hard. Then there's even Cody Rhodes versus his brother at the first AEW.
How cool was that match?
AEW. Best storytelling, only wrestling match that ever had been to it.
See, I'm getting goosebumps if you just talk about it. You know?
I just need a brother.
Take that. And that's the thing, you know. So each one to their own. You know, Hulk Hogan, if you see where he comes from, and then The Rock putting him over for that last one time, that respect that he passes there. I'm like, that's so emotional. And then with Stone Cold, because at the end and with a heart attack, and you know that's his last, that emotional thing. But now, take that out of the way, like they say, a special quality match between the two brothers.
Yeah.
Hey, Goldust and Cody. You can't compare that match with the Stone Cold and The Rock. That match was, wow, that was next level, bro. That was definitely. That was amazing. So how do you choose?
And that's what wrestling's such an amazing thing. Because on the one evening, it will be, this match will be amazing. Each on the other evening will be like almost forgotten because of the other matches.
It's so true. You know, one question that always pops up if I meet somebody at the airport, you know, on my way from Joburg to Cape Town. You're Ananzi, yeah. So how's wrestling? Tell me, is wrestling real or is it fake? That's the first question you always get of somebody. So coming back to that is, wrestling is an art, you know. So you got this match and you got this match, but it's different art pieces putting together. You know, the talent just coming together. It's art, bro.
And the thing with artists, in the end, the audience decides what's good.
Isn't that true?
And unfortunately, sometimes I don't think they know what's good. Ananzi, thanks a lot.
It's such
a privilege
honor
sitting down with you.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm looking forward to see you tonight in the ring. For those who is looking at the podcast afterwards, AWA has started with dark matches now, so if you're watching on YouTube, you're missing out on great talent wrestling before the show starts on YouTube. So maybe come to the next AWA show. But good luck for your match tonight at Battle for Glory. And let's end it nice. Hope you win. Cheers, bud.
Thank you, brother.
Bye-bye.
All right, let me get back in character.
Okay,
Hey, Todd, are you ready?